Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the Urban Renewal Agency meeting for June 21st, 2023. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 6:04. First thing we have here is citizen input and community announcements. I don't see anybody in the lobby wanting to speak, but do we have anybody online wanting to speak? No? All right, moving on quickly. I will take a motion for the consent agenda.
I move to approve the minutes for the April 19th, 2023 Urban Renewal Agency meeting as part of the consent agenda.
A second. Kitchen.
All right, it has been motioned by Vice Chair Hodson, seconded by Commissioner Davis to approve the consent agenda, which approves the minutes, including the minutes from the April 19th, 2023 URA meeting. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 4-0. The next item is a public hearing regarding the Urban Renewal Agency budget for the 2024 fiscal year as recommended by the Urban Renewal Agency Budget Committee. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. This public hearing was noticed, and those who wish to speak were instructed to contact the city recorder, and we did not receive any requests to speak. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your virtual hand if you're online, or handing in a card, which is in the back, to the city recorder. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In doing so, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent that group. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony, both for and against, shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. And this public hearing will be conducted as follows. We will start with a staff report, then questions, if any, by the hearing body. We will open the public hearing for testimony. Proponents will have no more than 3 minutes. Opponents will not have more than 3 minutes. Then we will close the public hearing, questions, if any, by the hearing body, and discussion. A decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of this hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. And this will be the only notice of that date that you will receive. All right, any questions?
Nope.
All right, so I will send it over to staff for the staff report.
Eric, are you? This is the budget.
What's that?
This is the budget. I think.
Urban Renewal budget.
It's not the supplemental, it's just the regular budget.
Well, you folks are sorting that out. I want to make sure. Can you hear me? Hello? That's not good.
Hello, Commissioners.
Closer.
The staff report here is for the adoption of the annual budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the fiscal year 2024. Budget law requires adoption of an annual budget by June 30th of each year. Requires the city to hold a public hearing, requires the city to submit tax certification documents to the county assessor by July 15th. Discussion on May 18th, 25th, and June 1st of 23. The URA Budget Committee met to deliberate over the budget. Staff reviewed the proposed budget with the committee and allowed for public comment. The proposed budget was approved by the committee with no changes. Attached is URA Resolution 2302. Fiscal impact is the ability to pay debt, proceed with capital projects already in process, and run the general operations of the Urban Renewal Agency. Options are 1, to approve the resolution and allow staff to pay on outstanding debt and keep the URA functioning. Option 2 is do not approve the resolution and risk defaulting on the outstanding debt, contracts, and commitments to the community. This could also result in material audit findings. Recommendation, staff recommends the commission approve URR 23-02. If the proposed motion is, I move to adopt URR 2302, a resolution of the Canby Urban Renewal Agency adopting the annual budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2024. Any questions?
Any questions for Eric?
No, this is pretty,
Okay. I do have one question for you, Eric, and I believe that and we'll probably talk about it in the city budget, but I believe there was some discussion regarding due to economic development, there was an adjustment made in the city budget. I don't see that adjustment reflected here on the URA budget, so the two budgets are not going to be in balance with each other. Did we not get that corrected, and why not?
Are you looking at page 6 of 7?
I'm looking at page 6 of 7. Yeah, I believe, because originally, and this number changed as well, because originally it was, the budget was, I believe, 300 and something thousand, and it then was up to 425, and then that was changed back down to 350,000. So these numbers are not the numbers that
So you're looking at the due to economic development line?
correct.
And under which heading?
So under FY 2023, it says $425,000, but when the budget committee reviewed that, that was at $350,000, which was budgeted. We made that adjustment to bring it back down to $350,000 because you said it wasn't spent over $350,000. So I'm
absolutely-
curious why now this one shows 425, not 350.
Yes, we didn't do the supplemental to change this because when we were talking about making changes, there were also changes to weight in Community Park and the highway logging bridge stuff. And I don't think those got resolved with direction in the last meeting. So I didn't change these numbers from the 23 budget on this document, but I'm telling you right now that we're not going to transfer more than 350 from the URA to the general fund.
Okay, but this number did get changed because in the budget committee meeting, that number was 350,000.
Okay.
So that's what I'm curious about is why was that changed to 425 between what the budget agency sent over, approved to send over?
I didn't change it to 425. It was originally 425, but I didn't do the supplemental to reduce the expenditure.
Right, but I'm asking about the line that says the budget, because the budget was, last year, the budget was 350,000. So how did that number change without being approved by the committee?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right, so that number did change, so that reflects
Okay,
425
now
now
I'm
instead of the
following.
350
Yeah,
budget.
this is probably a typo then. That 425 under the FY23 budget should be 350 like you're pointing out. So this is a typo here.
Which would affect the rest of the number.
It affects all the rest of the numbers.
So then you can, as part of your motion, do it as amended with that line being 350.
And that makes us statutorily okay, that we've approved a budget?
As amended?
Okay.
Yeah, because you have the power to amend it. I mean, you were advised by the budget committee to do this, but you do have certain powers to amend.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
So I guess that brings up the next question of, are there any more typos in here that we don't know about? How do we approve this if there's, I mean, if we just are now finding out about that typo?
I mean, I don't think there's a typo in here. I didn't copy last year's budget into this number here, so.
Okay.
Okay, let's try and forward this to me.
Okay. We can't have a motion until we have a hearing.
All right.
So,
Well, I will open up the public hearing then for any comments. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. And I will open it back up to questions from the body, if any. Seeing none? Oh, yes. Question?
When can we see the actual corrections? When would we have a budget that's actually been corrected so we can see the numbers in front of us that it's been done?
Tomorrow?
Okay, so by the next meeting, we can have an actual budget.
Yep.
Okay, well, with that, Mr. Chair, I would move to adopt URR 23002, a resolution of the Canby Urban Renewal Agency adopting the annual budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes for fiscal year 2024 as amended in this meeting.
I will second.
All right, says motion has been made by Commissioner Hensley, seconded by Vice Chair Hodson, to approve Resolution URR 23-022, a resolution adopting the Urban Renewal Agency annual budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the fiscal year 2024. Any further comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And that's 3-2, passes 3-2.
3-1.
3-1.
3-1, sorry,
You're not two people. Don't listen to that voice in your head.
sometime. All right, so
I
that
would like
brings
to
us,
see that report, Eric, when you get it done, please.
What's that?
I would like to see the corrected budget when you have it done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
all right. So to new business, a resolution, do we need to do that as well, or is that what we just did? Is that, we need to do it twice here, proposed motion?
You just did it.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
it.
All right. Old business, Urban Renewal Agency cash flow and project update.
So council, as we've been discussing, you have been interested in knowing what the remaining maximum indebtedness is for the Urban Renewal Agency. We have prepared a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eric is going to present the cash flow projections, and then we were able to get some updated numbers. And then Aaron and Jerry will present the other half of the presentation that shows a phase down of economic development staffing and project current estimates for projects. So got a lot to present, and just hold your questions until you kind of see the whole picture. Yeah. Great. Thank you.
Okay, so this presentation is based off of Commissioner Bangs asking at the last meeting about the $6 million. And so I'm just doing a brief financial history of the data we have on the Urban Renewal Agency. So I'm going to start in June of 2020 because that's before the debt was refinanced. That was when the previous finance director had presented this data to the URD. Can you scroll down a little? So yeah, the purpose of this presentation is just to summarize the financial activity. Just noting there was a debt refinancing that finalized in June of 21. We're going to look at a capital project summary. We're going to look at the economic development funding review and the maximum indebtedness summary. So to get to an apples to apples comparison, I wanted to start with the URA 2020 annual report before the debt was refinanced. Then we're going to compare the same time period from 2020 to 2021 so we can see what changed because of the debt refinancing. Part of that is reviewing the maximum indebtedness from 2020. And then we're going to look at the activity that's proposed and has already happened through the end of 2026 when the debt payments are done. So on the left here is a sheet that, could you scroll down so we can see the bottom number? Okay, so this is a sheet that on the left-hand side that was presented in the 2020 annual report. It shows the maximum indebtedness up above, which is 51 million and some unreserved revenue. And then this list here is all the capital projects that have been done and all the money that's been spent on them. The material and services line at the bottom, the $7 million line, that is the funding of the Economic Development Department in the city's general fund. So at the bottom of this, we have the remaining debt capacity available for future projects. This is how much money the URD can spend on capital projects from 6/30/2020. And once they spend that $6,725,901, that's where they're hitting the maximum indebtedness number that's up above that's restricted, right? We can't spend more than that. So just a reminder that that $6 million is not a cash on hand, it's amount that can be spent. Can you scroll up a little bit?
Oh, this way or?
Yeah. No, up one more slide.
Right there?
Can you scroll up one more? I can't tell if it skipped one. No, scroll down. Okay, right here. So again, the chart that's on the left was presented in the 2020 annual report. And I think what is important to look at here is the due to city and materials and services that I drew a box around at $2,065,000. That's how much was projected to be spent on funding the Economic Development Department. Then right below that is a box with the beautification, the facade grants, and all the capital projects. That entirety in there is $1,804,000 that was budgeted to be spent on capital projects in this report. Down below is all the debt payments. What's in the box is $25,440,000. But at this point in time, the debt payments were going out to 2036. So there's another $4,483,000 that's not shown on this chart that is still due for debt payments. Just to say that all of the debt payments at this point in time was $29,927,000. So this is the picture in 2020 before the debt was refinanced. So the one thing that's going to get tricky is when we go to the next slide, I'm only going to be comparing the columns for FY22, 23, 24, 25, and 26 to the next screen we're looking at. We're not going to look at 21 because the next screen is after 21's already happened and the debt is financed. So I'm trying to compare the same number of years to the same years to the same years, FY22 through 26. So next slide. So some things here, in the summary, there's 1.8 million allocated on that last screen for all the capital projects through the end of 24. Things to note are that there's only 235,000 in capital projects after starting in FY22. So the amount of money that was set aside to work on capital projects is only 235,000, and there's no capital projects after June of 2024. And I don't know why this is, but it's this way. The Economic Development Fund is still shown as funded when virtually no capital projects are planned past FY 2022. I don't know why that is, but it is, and it stuck out to me. Looking forward, again, the debt is refinanced in June of 21. All the debt payments move forward 10 years, so all the debt will be paid off in 2026 instead of 2036. And we're going to compare the 21 numbers to the 2020 numbers. Okay, next one. All right, this is the cash flow projection. This was presented to you in the 2021 Canby Urban Renewal Report. Now you can see that for FY22 through 26, there's almost 3 million funding economic development. And that is $587,000 more than appears on the 2020 report. There's $3.9 million worth of capital projects being budgeted for, which is like $3.7 million more than is shown in the 2020 annual report. The debt payments went, let's see, the debt payments here are $20.6 million, which is $1.9 million less than what is shown on the 2020 annual report. So this is the effect of what's happening when the debt got refinanced. The debt payments went down, but the important thing to look at is the capital expenditures went from 200 and some thousand to 3.9 million. So much more money has been allocated to capital projects after the debt was refinanced. Okay, so can we move forward one? So yeah, the summary, we're looking at the same time frame. There's $3.7 million more in capital funding, and the debt was reduced by 1.9 million. And economic development is fully funded through 2026. It's not showing any kind of phase out. So looking forward, we're going to look at what financial activity effects are on that capacity available for future projects. That's the $6.7 million we saw in the first slide. How has all the activity that's happened so far affected that $6.7 million number? So we're going to look at the actual financial activity that happened for FY 20 through 22. Then we're going to look at the projected financial activity for this year that's about to end in 2023. That is with Community Park being fully funded by the URA, just so that we're doing numbers to numbers here. And then we're going to review the estimated financial activity for the closeout of the district, which is 24 through 26. Okay, so this is a copy of that maximum indebted capital project list that you've seen in all the annual reports that we've already seen 2 times. So the first column is the project name. The second one is the as of 6/30/2020. So those are all the capital projects that have been done, and that's the cost of all of them. And then the FY 2021 projects column, those are the actual dollars spent on each one of those projects during the 2021 year. A total of $803,000 was spent. Then in 2022, those are all the FY 2022 projects column. Those are all the actual expenditures that were applied to those projects, and the economic development funding, which I'll remind you is the materials and services line at the very bottom. So $1.6 million was spent in 22. The FY 2023 projects column is what is written in the projected column in the budgets we just looked at the last month. And that's 1.375 million of projects being spent. So those are actual dollars that were spent on projects minus the 2023, because those are projections. Those numbers will change based on actuals, likely going down, but conservatively, we put the whole number in there. So we go to the next slide. Okay. This, I've tried to condense the information down to make it as easily readable as possible. So we're looking at all the years here. And for FY 2020, we're just starting with the capacity ending number that's at the bottom. It's the 6,725,000 number. The top half of this graph where the resource is, those are resources that come to the city that are not restricted by the maximum indebtedness number. So if we get interest payments or grants or something like that, that's extra revenue that we can apply to projects, okay? So in 21, there was 160,000 of, I'm just gonna call it extra revenue for this meeting, okay? Beyond the property tax revenue. So we got some extra revenue that would offset that maximum indebtedness number. We spent $467,000 on capital, $336,000 on economic development. So the net change is the $642,000. So capacity beginning is the $6.72 million. minus the net change gives us a new capacity ending. I'm not going to walk through every one of these columns because you guys get it. It's the same thing over and over again. So we're just looking at how much money was spent on capital, how much was spent on economic development, the resources that were coming in that allows us to spend a little bit more than the maximum indebtedness number, gives us the net change, and then the capacity for all of the capacity ending is the amount of money that's been applied to the maximum indebtedness number. So 24, 25, and 26 years, those are estimates, and I just ended with leaving about $100,000 in the capacity ending. Obviously, as the district runs out, you would want to try to zero that out as close as possible without going over the number. So can we go on one more? Okay, so summary. Capital projects, 21 through 22, 1.7 million was spent. 23, we're estimating 1 million. 24 through 26, estimating 2.385 million, for a total of 5,100,000 spent on capital. Economic development, 21 through 22, 740,000. This year, 360,000. That's 350,000 transferred to support economic development in the general fund, and then like $10,000 in materials and services in the URD. That's why we get to 360 and not 350. For 24 through 26, this does not include phase out of the economic development. This is full funding of economic development, 850,000. So total spent on economic development is 1.95 million. Okay, next slide. Then to wrap it all up, we started with a capacity of 6.7 million. The revenue that's not subject to the maximum indebtedness is about 330,000. Total capital spent, 5.1 million. Total economic development, 1.95 million, leaving the capacity in 2026 of about 103,000. Last slide. Oh, actually, will you go up one more time? So one thing I want to point out is the $6 million number has come up numerous times. I don't really know where it came from, but I think people thought there was $6 million to spend somehow, some way, right? So if we look at the total capital number here of 5.1 million and the total economic development number here of 1.95 million, that's like $7 million that has been spent between capital and funding economic development. And hopefully that explains the $6 million that has been brought up. That $6 million I heard brought up one time when the previous finance director talked about it presenting the 2020 annual report. So I don't know exactly what she was talking to or related that number specifically to. And so I'm hoping that this shows that more than $6 million has been spent, is budgeted to be spent supporting the URD.
And I could supplement that. Just, I believe the $6 million comment was how much was saved by going with a lower interest rate, but it's over time, so it's a little confused.
Yeah, I think it was, and I'll speak in the collective, we heard we have $6 million more to play with, when in actuality, we don't. It was just saving. It's like you refinance your
Saving
home.
time.
We saved, time and
$6 million
money
we
on
didn't have
interest.
to spend on interest. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's where the confusion came in and why we kind of globbed onto that number as, I mean this tongue in cheek when I say more mad money in the Urban Renewal Agency. So this is, I think, breaks it down really well, Eric. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I don't know if there is a way to make it any more clear than this one. So, yeah, so I appreciate that. It's as clear as day on this. So thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Very much appreciate that. Any other questions or comments for Eric?
Well, I agree with you on this last slide, but I think showing how we got here was important.
Right,
You
yeah.
know, just to look at all the numbers in an apples to apples kind of way. And so,
Sometimes history lessons are good.
interesting how history works. So, no, really appreciate it, Eric.
Okay, thanks.
So now we're going to switch over to the other part of our presentation, and Jerry and Jamie will come up and present.
Project, okay. Perfect.
Yeah, the rest of it.
And Jamie started. Just kick it off.
Get Jamie started.
Good evening. Jamie Stickle, Economic Development Director for the City of Canby. So tonight we brought back the remaining urban renewal funds and the projects that had been previously discussed as priority projects from the last meeting. Just like last time, we have some items just to kind of keep in the back of your mind. We'll revisit these questions. But how would the Urban Renewal Agency prefer to fund economic development over the next 3 years? We have options for that for you this evening. Which projects would the Urban Renewal Agency direct staff to further pursue with the funding that's available? And then other considerations from the Urban Renewal Agency for staff. So first, we'll kick it off with the cash flow projections. And this is, you'll see a variety of options. The options basically go, oh, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. We have Councilor Patton is trying to get in on the conversation around some volume issues, so if we take just a minute to try and figure that out.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we'll take a 5-minute recess?
That'd be
Does that
awesome.
work? Yeah, perfect. All right, welcome back, Kami. Thank you for bearing with us. Technology is a blessing and a curse all at the same time. So we are back, and we will continue on.
Pardon?
Want me to move that up?
Yes. Does this not work?
Oh, let me click on it.
Yeah, perfect. So just to kind of start where we finished off, items to consider: how will the Urban Renewal Agency prefer to fund the Economic Development Department over the next 3 years? Which projects will the Urban Renewal Agency direct staff to further pursue with the funding that's available? And then other considerations from the Urban Renewal Agency for staff. So first, we'll discuss cash flow projections. This is, we've been talking in our Urban Renewal Agency meetings and the budget meetings about tapering off economic development, the amount of money that the Urban Renewal District will be funding economic development. So you'll see 5 different options. Option A is with economic development funded solely from urban renewal. Then below that, there are the capital projects over the next 3 years for 24, 25, 26. And that would be the money available, projected to be available for those 3 years. And then we have a total on the end. So for capital projects, the total would be roughly 1.85 million. Option B is the 80-60-40 split, which you saw last time, which would be a tapering down of economic development for those percentages, which would increase the amount of money that we would have for capital projects. The thing that I'd like to note is that in 2024, that column remains the same for all of the capital projects at $150,000 because that was what was budgeted for next year's budget. So by doing the 80-60-40 split, it would increase the amount of money available for capital projects to $2.27 million. A 75-50-25 split would increase the funding available to $2.4 million. The 40-20-10 split would increase to 2.75 available for capital projects. And then finally, we also wanted to provide an option that was if 0% was paid for economic development from urban renewal, which would increase the amount available for capital projects to $3.060 million. Then we went back and we reassessed the projects that we had previously provided the estimates on. So as a reminder, that would be the logging bridge, downtown alleyways, and then First Street, not First. And at the last meeting, the Urban Renewal Agency had asked if we could provide a low, medium, and high cost estimate. And so the low cost estimate is just for painting the bridge. And obviously with painting a bridge that goes over ODOT, there's things like traffic control, flagging, erosion control, and those things are, those are standard with that. The grand total, they provided us with $2023 as well as $2025, just so that we were able to estimate what we would be dealing with, since we've seen projects come back with quite the increase over the last couple of years. So roughly, just to paint the bridge, $1.8 million in 2023, which would be $1.99 million in 2025. The medium option would be for bridge painting, lighting, and then column cladding. And this is a little bit of a kind of plug and play, and you'll see that the third option is for everything. But we had heard safety lighting on the path, but then also, as someone also mentioned, maybe some of the column lighting as well. So that would increase the total to $2.6 million in 2023, or roughly 2.9 in 2025. And then the high option is for bridge painting, the path from the bridge down to Fred Meyer, additional railing, lighting, column cladding, which is the stonework on the columns, and landscaping, and that would be $3.473 million in 2023, or $3.8 million in 2025. Then we reassessed the downtown alleyway improvements, and there are 12 downtown alleyways, and what we would be doing would be bringing them up to a common standard. So that's roughly 20 feet of paved surface. It would also do ADA compliance for the aprons entering the alleyways. And then the drainage would remain essentially unchanged. And then also North First Street redevelopment. So for First Street, between First Avenue and Second Avenue, for replacing the curbs, sidewalks, repaving that area. And then also ADA upgrades for the curb returns at Second Avenue. The estimate was $320,000. And then I think Jerry might want to talk a little bit about kind of what we're calling making the turn, which would be to finish some of the work that was done on Second Avenue, including diagonal parking, curbs, planter strip, sidewalks, and then a full street overlay for that portion. So it's kind of like a flag of redevelopment there. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then back to the items to consider. So how would you like to fund economic development? What projects would you like to see us pursue, and any other considerations? That is all the presentation that we have for this evening, so we'll open it up to you for questions and dialogue.
Perfect. Thank you, Jamie and Jerry. Thanks for all the input, Jerry. That was wonderful. Appreciate it. Jamie, would you be able to go back up to the, excuse me, the first slide about the different options?
That one.
So the only way that we would be able to do anything more than painting the bridge is if we went with like option D or E. Right?
We wouldn't be able to do it until 26.
Right. So 20, and just painting alone was in 2025 dollars was $1.9 million. So if we keep option A like we have now, we don't even have money to paint the bridge nor do any of the other projects. So I'm just trying to do quick math. I don't do math well. Maybe Eric will help me out because he's a numbers guy. But like, if we're going to do all of the alleyways, and you guys might have these numbers, if we did all of the alleyways, how much is that? Is that around $600,000? Is that what we're thinking?
I think it's 720.
720,000. So we can't do, I mean, with any of these options, we can't do all three of the options.
Correct.
So we have to pick one or two. So I guess, the conversation comes down to what do we want to do more? Because we can't do them all, even with option E, we don't have enough money to do all of them.
And Chair Var, we discussed that this afternoon as we were prepping for this. You may decide that, you can really take the order. What are you going to decide about economic development funding? And then what are you going to decide about projects? Or you may decide what projects do you want to do, and therefore, what does that mean for economic development?
Yeah, and that's thinking, I mean, that's exactly how I think of it, is if we want to do as many of the projects, then that helps me make my decision on which order to do economic development. So, but I guarantee you, I do not want to do option E. That's, for me, I do not want to go cold turkey and pull funding right now from that. So I don't think that would benefit the city. I guess I saw Commissioner Padden had his hand up online, but it's down now, so I don't know if he still has a question, but any other questions?
Well, and I think I think it, it's obvious, but, any impact then of economic development is an impact to the general fund of the city, so.
Yeah. Vice Chair Hodson.
Thank you. So maybe since Eric is still here, we have the capacity to take on the whole economic development amount now. Like if we made that, if option E was, if we seriously considered that, I mean, can the general fund take that on with next year's budget?
I believe it can, but I would really like to review that. But
Okay, so we think it could, but we need to review it. Okay, thank you. Need some guy's hand back.
Yeah, Commissioner Padden, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
There
We
you
can
are.
now, yep, there we go.
Okay, so I guess I really wanted this bridge done. I really wanted to put a really good foot forward for the city by getting this bridge done. And it is clear to me that I don't see us being able to do it, even paint it. How long had this bridge been on the list of things to try and get done with urban renewal?
Since the beginning.
Since the beginning.
Since when?
Since the beginning.
I guess if there was a way back machine, it sure would be nice to go back and prioritize this one. Because I can bet you any amount of money that even 5 years ago, this bridge would have been a whole lot cheaper for the full meal deal with $3.8 million. That's all I have for now.
Great, thank you. Vice Chair Hodson and then Commissioner Davis.
So, to Jason's comment, so in looking at the options for the bridge, I think going with, I mean, the high version is, I mean, that's been something we've talked about for a long time as a city. So I guess it's a two-part question. The first part is, do we, or I guess, can it be a dual expenditure between the urban renewal district and this, then city funds, a budget piece for the city to handle the difference or whatever? So that's my first question. The second question I have is, that trail, I believe, is considered a park. So if we're looking at safety features, we're talking about that ramp, which, and nothing against the short line railroad, but that's going to be a sticky piece to come up to even put in there because of where that, however that ramp or staircase or whatever that is gets put in, it's coming down on their property. So, I mean, that may be a very big pie in the sky piece unless you know something, Jerry, that I don't know. So I guess my question about the trail being designated a park is, does any of that addition or what we're talking about add capacity for SDCs?
We would have to look into that, but I would think that some of that would be eligible for that, especially when we could look in the master plan, then when we update the SDC fee for parks for the new master plan. Potentially.
So then that answers my question in terms of,
or
it becomes a hybrid, you know, we're pulling from various sources to make, it's some way, shape, or form that, obviously painting doesn't add capacity, so that rules out SDCs, but then that means a joint venture between urban renewal and the city, at least for option, or the low and the mid end, the high end maybe, but that'll all depend on the whole bridge or spiral staircase or whatever that design is going to be. Is that a safe way to look at it?
The path leading down is actually pretty easy.
Okay.
Just to be honest, it goes between, it slides off the side of the path and goes down between the mini storage.
Okay.
And it's just a retaining wall and a paved path. And it ends up down there hitting on this side of the tracks. So it's
So the west side of the tracks?
Yeah, so it's not a huge impact. The option that we brought you last time was going over and going off the other side, which was what you were talking about, Chair Hodson. So that path is a pretty easy project.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Jerry, the question about the STCs, are you talking about park STCs?
Yeah, like it would be, we'd have to look into it just for if, like the painting wouldn't improve wouldn't be qualified, I don't think, for
Right.
improvement, but the path potentially might be, but we'd have to look into that. I would hate to,
But the park master plan does not cover that.
yeah.
It is not in the park master plan.
Okay, so then I guess we can say no to that then. It would have to be general funds.
Yeah. Okay, and then Jamie, do any of these amounts include the facade improvements and stuff for the projects, like the $150,000?
That's included,
In the capital.
not in the, is it, that,
No, that 150,000 is.
it was laid out elsewhere, not under the capital improvements, but,
And my question, my question would be if Merrill's and those, the facade improvements, if that amount could get moved over to help fund some of these projects? Just a question.
So are you asking to eliminate the facade improvement and the mural program?
Yeah, as a consideration on these projects.
Gotcha.
To answer your question, the 150,000 that's shown on the capital improvement in this presentation is 100,000 for Wake Community Park and 50,000 for the mural program. What's not shown in there is the 25 for beautification and marketing and 75,000 for the facade improvement program.
Okay, so that's a little bit of money that we could shift if we really wanted to do this 99 bridge. You know, other money potentially.
More questions? Okay. Vice Chair Hodson.
Gee, does Commissioner Patton still have a question?
I was going to ask that. Commissioner Patton, your hand is still up online. Do you still have a question, or was that from leftover?
Yeah, so I have a couple of things. I got to be at the computer so it doesn't sound crazy. Okay. This question is for Jerry. With the paint on the bridge has been peeling for a while now. Has there been any like structural inspections of the bridge? Is there like a timeline of when the bridge really would need to be painted in an effort to make sure that it doesn't have a major impact on its structural integrity or something along those lines?
We have the bridge inspected through ODOT, and so far there's been no structural integrity, but I could follow up on that. But I don't believe so at this time. I mean, eventually, if you don't take care of it, it's going to cause problems down the road. We all know that. It's any kind of maintenance. But right now, I don't think it's presenting a problem immediately.
Okay, I guess I'm kind of looking at all this stuff. I see where Commissioner Hodson is going with park SDCs, and I'm not a fan of utilizing those funds for something like this. The Parks Board, the Parks Master Plan has a plan, and we need to get some parks built, and that is what that money is for. Knowing that we can't really make a decision, I will tell you that as far as where I'm leaning on all this, after hearing all of this, is to do the streets projects with what money we have, and in tandem, create a long-term plan for how we are going to fund improvements to the Logging Road Bridge from the general fund or wherever, over the course of a period of time. So like 1 year the bridge is painted, another year decorative railings and stuff are put up and lights, and come up with a plan for how we're going to beautify that bridge and add that path. That's where I'm leaning to at this point in time.
Great, thank you. For clarification, Joe or Eileen, we're not in work session, so we are in an actual URA meeting. So are we looking for decisions to be made tonight?
No.
Or just kind of consensus on how to move forward?
I think consensus, you're at, you're running at 5 out of 7 folks too, so it might merit other discussions
Sure.
as well. But no, you're at a meeting. We don't have any action items for you other than what we've already.
Okay, okay.
So consensus will work.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. Appreciate it. Commissioner Davis, you had some more.
Yeah, thank you. I do agree with Jason. I think that if we prioritize the alleys in the street and scratch the facade improvements and the marrows, if we can afford to do that, fine. But if we can't, then move that money over to do the alleyways and streets, and make that our highest priority. And then also checking into the potential for grants that might be available to help us with the bridge too.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, maybe one of the things that we discussed too in this is the potential of, obviously, when the URA sunsets, we're going to, if we keep the facade improvement program going, that's going to have to go through general fund anyway, so maybe looking to, maybe move that out of urban renewal sooner than the end of it. Did we ever look at options of just patching the bridge, like just sanding down the spots and just kind of doing a temporary paint job to fix it? I mean, I imagine we could probably match the paint fairly close, right? To just touch up.
We have not looked into that. It just was never a direction that we were told to go.
Okay.
And Sheriff Harwood, we had our engineers just reach out to the people that would probably do the painting for that. I mean, that's something that I could try to get them to reach out for if that was an interest to the committee.
I think, the writing's on the wall. We can't afford to do the bridge, right? But it also, it doesn't look good. So I think if that is a possibility of seeing what it would cost to just kind of touch up those spots so that it doesn't look bad, and then focus our attention with the funds that we have on the alleyways and the street projects. That's kind of my thought on it. Commissioner Hensley.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise with Commissioner Patton and Davis, I've known for a while that the bridge was going to be a pie in the sky, and so thank you for showing us the actual numbers and proving it. Yes, it's ugly, we need to do something about it, but I agree, I think we should focus on the alleys and the streets, but I would also like to see, since we are winding down the district, I think it's a good time to retire programs like the facade improvement and shovel those funds over to these things that we want to tie up and be done with the program, be done with the district. We're going to have to start retiring programs as we go, so I think this is a good time to start that process and move those funds over to projects at this point. Now, granted, the facade improvement isn't going to be enough to do the facade of the bridge, but it could help us get everything that we want aside from the bridge done before this district ends. And I too agree that we don't want to go straight to E. Even D is a little scary. So yeah, I'm thinking C is a good one maybe on the economic development transition.
I agree on that one. Commissioner Davis? One more.
Could we scroll up again to those options?
Thanks.
And while I'm scrolling, I do want to just note with the facade improvement program, when someone applies and is awarded, then they have 2 years to spend that money. So if the program stopped, there might be projects that have been approved but not yet funded at this time. Just to make sure I'm saying that.
Retire the offer.
Now, Eric, what did we budget for on economic development? Was it 350?
What's in the budget is option A.
Option A?
Yeah, and then deciding here, we could do a supplemental to change those expenditures.
Okay.
Except option A here says 425, which we agreed we're going to change to 350.
That was 23, was 350.
Yeah.
Option A is the current budget.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, I apologize.
Okay. So, yeah, I like option C as well in regards to the amount for economic development, so we're not taking a huge hit as we retire it.
Yeah. Vice Chair Hodson.
Yeah, so I can get behind C. I'm okay with going D as well. E is ripping the Band-Aid off too quickly for me. In terms of the projects, I don't think the bridge, the logging trail bridge and whatnot, I don't think it's pie in the sky. I think it's something that can be done and would add a lot to the entryway into our city. And when I look at it, and it's a big amount to cover, but that would put less hurt on the general fund as a as a funding partnership than if we wait and it becomes solely a general fund project. That's just my thoughts on that. I mean, I understand the whole low-hanging fruit piece and whatnot, but I think our general fund could absorb those other two projects better than the whole nut of the logging bridge. So, again, you're looking for feedback on until everybody can be here, but I would shoot for either the medium or high level of the logging bridge and then wait and do the other two projects as a general fund piece, or I know that she's going to punch me later, but another urban renewal district.
Punch you now.
Well, this meeting just got longer.
And that concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
All right. One more for Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Thank you. I know we're running out of time to get the council meeting started, but what Mayor Hudson talked about in regards to, I think as we get into the comp plan and as we look at the comp plan and we look at future commercial growth and things like that, I think we're going to have to eventually look at, good use of urban renewal is putting in infrastructure and putting in the roads and things like that. That's good use of urban renewal. So I'm anxious through the comp plan process, and having discussions about how do we fund that in commercial areas and things like that. But then the other thing to think about is when we think about the comp plan and into that area, getting ahead of the curve in regards to sports fields and athletic fields and things like that, which the city is lacking on desperately. And that could be considered an economic development in regards to good use of urban renewal, because we're keeping people in town to use money for the businesses downtown. So we need to start thinking about those type of things as well for funding for athletic fields.
I thought you said you were done.
I thought so too, but I have two.
Go ahead.
My first one is, for the longest time, didn't Canby Fire and Canby PD use that bridge?
We still do.
You still do?
That's why we have it inspected for load rating.
Okay,
just
so
for an
can there be a
emergency.
user fee for Canby Fire to help offset some
Well,
of
we
the
got a
costs?
ladder truck. We'll go up and paint it for you.
Absolutely.
There we go.
I mean, if we're truly make this a community effort to get this done, I think that would be, seeing as I got Tracy upset, I think I get Jim upset as well. So my other last comment was, and we were kind of joking off to the side here, but I mean, those rust spots are pretty centric, or pretty circular. Can we just
Dahlias.
put something over those? I mean, seriously, we were joking about,
Well,
can we just go get
That's not a horrible idea.
go get one of the steel companies and commission with them to cut out some killer dahlia design or something for each of those spots?
I'm definitely not going to tell you no, Chair Hudson.
You've done that twice to me, Jerry, in my career here.
No, I think that's a great idea. I think that maybe we should look, that's what I wanted to just touch on. You look at the years, we have $150,000 to spend this year, right? I mean, there's not a lot we could do, maybe an alley or something like that, or look into that, use that to look into that. But we got plenty of time. Maybe that's some good direction for us. Some easier, cheaper ways to just kind of cover that up, bring back prices for that. I think that's a great idea.
Well, I think we've given you guys a little more work, so it's great.
Yeah,
You guys
well,
won't be bored.
I thought I was prepared. I thought you were going to bring up the medallions again. the brick
But let him
intersections.
forget, let him forget.
So
No, but we need
I
to
even
fix
got
the
pricing
gap.
on
I
that,
mean, we're
so.
saying, the first couple of times we talked about this, we heard, I heard First Street like, I thought you were gonna address those intersections with the brick out here, at Ivy and Second and all
Yeah.
that, but now it's First Street. so-
Yeah, it's what that turned into we were gonna look into that as a streets project and funding it through that,
Conversation for another time, but.
another time, yeah.
No medallions,
Yes, I would just say as far as like a stopgap thing, like patching those spots, one thing to keep in mind is when the bridge was originally done, a great deal of money was spent on all of the scaffolding and protection that had to go over the railroad tracks for Union Pacific. And if the cost of putting all of that scaffolding and stuff over the railroad tracks brings the cost up to just, to me, it's like, rather than spending all of that now for in a year or two, create a strategic plan to then paint the whole thing, save the money for the larger project. We've looked at the patches, the rust patches for the last 10 years. If we're looking at them for a couple more years, it means that we can paint the whole bridge later on and have it all done and build into the contract a guarantee that that paint will not chip over the course of X period of time. So if it does, they come back and paint it for free. I'm more amenable to that.
Great. Thank you very much. All right, well, we are running short on time here. I need to get over to our city council meeting, but just want to make sure that you guys got the information that you need from those of us that are here and have some more muddy water to wade through.
Did we answer your questions?
What I'm hearing in terms of the economic development program, the council or the commission is leaning towards option C. So that gives us that direction. And then I think that we can take that and kind of work with this idea of, is there any cheaper type of solution that we can come up with? So we'll explore that. And I'm also hearing a preference for alleyways in First Street over the bridge. Is that correct by a majority of the commission?
I think that's what, yeah.
Yeah, let us work with that information. This is good direction, and we will be back.
Great.
I don't know when, but we will be back.
Perfect. And we can work on that when later. All right. Well, then in that case, and the next item on our agenda is an adjournment. Do I have a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we've got all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, Canby.
City of Canby, welcome to the June 21st, 2023 City Council meeting. I apologize for our late start. We had a very lengthy and good conversation for the Urban Renewal District, and we had some technical difficulties that we were trying to get figured out. So we will start with a moment of silence and then Pledge of Allegiance. Just a moment of silence for our first responders and our police and the men and women that are in service protecting our country and helping us to be free. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We do have a very full agenda this evening, but there's a couple of changes. So items in section 5, ordinances and resolutions, we are removing item E and item H. We will need to move those to those are items that require a public hearing, and we did not notice those adequate with enough time, so we will be getting those noticed and holding a special meeting probably or definitely next week. So I think we are looking at Thursday. So Counselor Padden, I know you're on video. If you can take a look at what Thursday of next week looks like for you, and then we'll figure out how to get a response from Counselor Padden, Counselor Maldonado and Counselor Banks, who are both not with us this evening. So, and we can be pretty flexible in terms of time on that on Thursday. Okay. Do you want us to email you or Maya yay or nay and times that might work best on Thursday? Absolutely. Okay. So counselors, if we can do that, that would be
Are we looking
great.
to do 100% Zoom?
I would prefer to do it Zoom because I think that gives us the most flexibility to get everybody involved. I know that already that there may be one or two counselors that will not be able to be at the meeting, but I know Zoom would work out best with work schedules for some of us and evening conflicts that are already on the books, but these are important things and that's why we get paid the big bucks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. Okay. Next is citizen input and community announcements. If you wish to address the council on non-agenda items, you can do so. You can do it one of two ways. You can send an email to our city recorder, Maya. She will then allow you to zoom in if you wish, or you can come down to the council chambers and fill out a yellow comment card, and we'll give you your 3 minutes to address the council. We have no yellow cards, and I don't think we have anyone other than Counselor Padden online. So moving on. Next on our agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda that includes the minutes of the April 19th, 2023 City Council regular meeting, the approval of the OLCC application for an off-premises license for La Canasupa Meat Market located at 733 Southeast 1st Avenue, the reappointments of members Russell Heineman and Mindy Monacuco to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee for a term ending June 30, 2026, the reappointments of members Robert Canberra and Jennifer Driscoll to the Traffic Safety Commission for terms ending June 30, 2026, the appointment of member Linda Warwick to the Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30, 2024, and the appointments of members Jennifer Kraxberger and Christy Smith to the Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30, 2027.
I will second.
All right, motion has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwick to approve the consent agenda, which include approval of the April 19th, 2023
regular city council minutes, approval of the OLCC application for an off-premises license for La Cana Super Meat Market located at 733 Southeast First Avenue. Reappointments of members Russell Heineman and Mindy Monacuco to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee for a term ending June 30th, 2026. Reappointment of Chair Robert Cambra and Jennifer Driscoll to the Traffic Safety Commission, both for terms ending on June 30th of 2026. Appointment of member Linda Warwick to the Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30th, 2024. Appointment of members Jennifer Kraxberger and Christy Smith to the Library Advisory Board for a term ending June 30th of 2027. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jason?
Counselor Patton?
Uh-oh, he's not here, we don't record him.
No, I have my hand raised.
Okay.
Oh, we don't see him.
Thank you, sir. So that carries 4-0. All right, next up is a public hearing, two of them. The first public hearing is for, regarding the supplemental 2022-23 fiscal year budget. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. The public hearing was noticed, and those who wish to speak were instructed to contact the city recorder. We did not receive any requests to speak at this time. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your virtual hands at this time or handing a card to the city recorder. We have none here in the chambers or online. So for longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions and comments will be directed to the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access. All written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. Staff report, questions if there are any by the hearing body. I will open the public hearing for testimony. We'll hear from proponents, then opponents. I will close the public hearing and then any additional questions by the hearing body. We will then have a discussion and then a decision will be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about the procedures of the hearing? Seeing none, we will go into the staff report.
Hello,
Mr.
Mayor,
Kaitola.
council members.
Hello, sir.
For your consideration is resolution number 1386, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. Background: to maintain compliance with local budget law, an appropriation transfer resolution must be adopted to allow for the increase and decrease in expenditure appropriations between departments. To summarize, in the general fund, the court department requires additional appropriations to cover expenditure increases in materials and services, attorney services. The finance department requires additional appropriation to cover expenditure increases in materials and services, auditing, software maintenance, and supplies and service. The library's requirement is reflected in the transfers out adjustment and is explained below in the library fund. All of the above additions are covered by a reduction in appropriations in the general fund contingency fund account. The library fund. The library fund needs additional appropriations to cover expenditure increases in personnel services. These additions are covered by a transfer from the general fund contingency. It should be noted also that the library is expected to receive a last payment from the Clackamas County Library District But as of 6/12/2023, that amount hadn't come in yet. And there will not be another supplemental budget done after this one we're talking about. And in the interest of caution, I'm including this in the library supplemental to ensure compliance with the budget law. Transient room tax fund requires additional appropriation to cover expenditure increases in materials and services, services and supplies. This will reduce the reserve for tourism enhancement balance. The sewer fund collections department requires an increase in appropriations for capital projects. The total projected expenditure in the capital project, Safeway pump station removal, exceeds the budgeted amount. This addition will be offset by a reduction in the sewer fund contingency in the sewer fund wastewater treatment plant. There's an attachment, which is the resolution, 1386. The fiscal impact is none. Spending authority is being transferred between appropriations with no increase in total appropriations. Options, one is to approve the budget appropriation transfer and allow the city operations to continue seamlessly and stay in compliance with Oregon budget law. Two, do not approve the budget appropriation transfer resulting in constraints on service to the community, as well as creating a situation where we would be breaking Oregon budget law and subject to an audit finding. Staff recommends that council adopt resolution 1386.
And it is 85, just, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
85. We pulled 86 from the agenda, but that's
Okay. Okay.
You can't see my hand, but I have a question.
Yes, Counselor Patton.
Okay, hold on a second, I gotta switch. Is it normal for the library fund, the money coming in from the library fund to be delayed like this?
Yes, they do the largest payment, which is almost all of it, it's like 95%, is done in January, and then they do this residual payment in June. And I just don't want to see the fund overspent, so.
Okay, so this is typical, it's just we're trying to prevent the fund from being overdrawn this time by doing this.
Yes, I want to say that I'm pretty certain that the money would come in, but I think I checked it on Monday and it still wasn't here. So I just don't want to violate Oregon budget law for any silly reason like that.
Nope, that's fine. I wasn't sure if this was an outlier thing or, and it sounds like it is not. So thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for staff? Okay, not seeing any. I will open up the public hearing for testimony. Last check, there were no proponents or opponents on this matter. So I will now close the public hearing. And then if there's any other questions by the hearing body, seeing none, any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. What is the pleasure of the council? Do we want to,
Is there another public hearing?
there is another one, but we can roll into that and then approve this later or approve it now? What's the wish of the?
It'd be less confusing if we do it as we go through the resolutions later.
Okay, perfect. Then we will do that then. Okay. Second public hearing this evening is the public hearing regarding the 2023-2024 fiscal year budget as recommended by the Budget Committee. Again, the matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested persons in attendance shall be heard on the matter. This public hearing was noticed, and those who wish to speak were instructed to contact the city recorder. And again, I don't think we have had anybody that's requested time to speak. Those people that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please indicate your desire to speak by raising your hands virtually or here in council chambers, and there are none on either. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. All questions must be directed to the mayor. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access, and all written testimony received both for and against shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. The public hearing will go as follows. Staff report. Questions, if any, by the hearing body. I will then open the public hearing for testimony. And then I will close the public hearing after proponents and opponents address the council. Questions, if there's any others, by the city council, and then discussion. A decision will be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you'll receive. Any questions? Seeing none. Hi, Eric. Hello. Welcome back.
Okay, we're going to be considering Resolution 1388, adopting the budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes for the 2024 fiscal year. Background, Oregon budget law requires adoption of an annual budget by June 30th of each year, requires the city to hold a public hearing, requires the city to submit tax certification documents to the county assessor by July 15th. The city passed a local option levy of 49 cents per 1,000 of assessed property value on November 8th, 2016 to fund the swim center operations. The city levies the taxes provided for in the adopted budget at the permanent rate of $3.4886 per thousand of assessed property value. The allocation and categorization are subject to limits. Section 11B, Article X1 of the Oregon Constitution, 11. Discussion on May 18th and 25th, and again on June 1st, 2023, the City of Canby Budget Committee met to deliberate over the FY 2024 budget. Staff reviewed the proposed budget with the committee and allowed for public comment. The proposed budget was approved by the committee with changes that were detailed in the memos provided during and after budget meetings. There's Resolution 1388 attached. Fiscal impact is the city's ability to provide services and public safety to the committee. Options are to, 1, approve the resolution and allow staff to continue maintaining programs and services for the City of Canby. Option 2, do not approve the resolution and city operations will shut down as of July 1st, 2023. Staff recommends the council adopt Resolution 1388. Any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Questions or?
Clarification, is that 1388 or 1387?
It is 87. Yep. Questions? And we're all good with the changes and things, okay? Then I will open up the public hearing for testimony. We have no proponents or opponents at this time, so I will close the public hearing. Any new questions that may have come up?
Since the hearing?
Since the hearing, I know it was an intense hearing on the budget.
No, I think we're good.
Discussion by the hearing body. The only thing I will say, Eric, is I want to thank the budget committee, especially the community members that are involved. It's a lot to jump in and get up to speed on things that we hear on a semi-regular basis. And, I know, Eric, you live and breathe these numbers every day, and so appreciate the work that you put into the budget. I know there's been a lot, and thank you to all the directors for the hard work creating the budget the way that we've done it, and to Eileen for jumping in like feet first. I think it was your third day in that you were here. So the city budget is not an easy process to put together and come before a committee, but staff does it year in and year out, and I appreciate the work that was brought into that, so thank you. Yeah, Canby's budget is, it has grown over the time that I have been on the council by quite a bit, and that is due to the fact that as we have grown as a city, services increase and the demand for services increase, and so with that is added costs, added people, added protection from our police. So please take a look at it, please get involved, and see where your tax dollars are being spent, and let us know where else we can do better regarding that for next year's process. So I know that during the process, we've talked about doing some additional kind of prep work in advance, so I'm sure as we move through the next couple of months, we'll get those things ironed out. So again, thank you, staff, for the hard work. Okay, and that resolution will come up here in a little bit. Great. Eric, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Moving into ordinances and resolutions. First ordinance is number 1603, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator to designee to enter into an amended employment contract between the City of Canby and Miss Eileen Stein. So this is a second reading, but again, we had created an initial contract with Miss Stein, and we are adding to it in an official capacity because the amount that amount being paid out is more than the 50,000 that we have, and so it requires council action, and so the second reading will make that happen. I don't think there's any other questions or comments from anybody.
Nothing new then, Mr. Mayor. I move to adopt ordinance 1603, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator designee to enter into an amended employment contract between the City of Canby and Eileen Stein.
I'll second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve ordinance number 1603, an ordinance authorizing the city administrator designee to enter into an amended employment contract between the City of Canby and Eileen Stein. Second reading, roll call vote.
Councilor Patton?
Aye.
Councilor Barwick?
Aye.
Councilor Davis?
Aye.
And Council President Hensley?
Aye.
Great. Motion carries 4-0.
Jason, I pressed the button for you.
Next is ordinance number 1604, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to execute a contract with Pape Trucks in the amount of $282,723.81 for the purchase of a new dump truck and declaring an emergency. Again, this is a request from the Public Works team to add on to / replace an existing dump truck. And we had the emergencies to get it going because Jerry, it's still gonna be, did you say it's about a year out still?
Up to a year.
Okay. Any other clarifications on that, Eileen, that I missed? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 1604, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a purchase agreement with Pape Trucks in the amount of $282,723.81 to purchase a new dump truck and declaring an emergency.
I'll second, even with emergency.
Motion's been made by Councilor Varwig, seconded by Council President Hensley to approve ordinance 1604, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to execute a contract with Pape Trucks in the amount of $282,723.81 for the purchase of a new dump truck and declaring an emergency. Roll call vote.
Councilor Patton?
Aye, and thank you, Councilor Davis, for covering the button.
Councilor Barwick?
Aye.
Councilor Davis?
Aye.
And Council President Hensley?
Aye.
That motion carries 4-0. Next on the agenda is ordinance number 1605, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a contract with National Fitness Campaign, NFC, of San Francisco, California, to purchase a highly specialized outdoor fitness court infrastructure product with an integrated digital ecosystem and fitness court mobile app in the amount of $160,000 in its first reading. who gets this lucky one?
Well, and so we didn't know if the council desired to have more conversation about this before voting on an ordinance. And so we also located it under old business. So I guess we could take the temperature of the room if you guys want to discuss this in greater detail ahead of time. I can just announce that under public contracting, public procurement rules, specifically 279B075, when you're going to be doing a sole source procurement, a local contract review board has to have written findings. You guys are the local contract review board, as set out in our charter, or in our ordinances. So you guys have to determine in writing that this class of goods is only available from one source. And what you'll see is I just put in the last whereas, because if you are going to pass an ordinance, it's going to become law, and it's in writing what those findings would be. Under law, basically, some of the suggested sort of determinations for sole source findings are that the goods and services require some sort of either software or data that is used with other public agencies and only can come from one source. And that's one of these types of findings, is that it's part of this network of 500 cities that use this app, and they're the only ones because it's proprietary. And so that squarely fits within the statute I referenced, as well as it says other findings that support the conclusion that they're only available from one source. And so we added the fact that these are the only folks who can manufacture this. These are the only folks who make this particular product. And then, of course, it's that network as part of the National Fitness Campaign that makes it special because of the software. That would be the basis. You guys are the local contract review board, so if you're in agreement with those findings, those particular ideas and findings were set out in accordance with law. We gave 7 days notice of those findings in writing and made sure it was in our paper. And so that was definitely there back on the 14th, and it gave a protest period that anybody could get a hold of Eileen Stein in any way they wanted, either calling or writing or coming in here or emailing, and we have had no protesters. So, and that's now considered untimely. Anything past 4:30 today was going to be considered untimely, so there's not going to be any protest to this. So it is, or haven't been, and now there won't be because of timeliness issues. So you guys are faced with making this determination, these findings, in an unprotested situation.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joe. I know that it's kind of been a cumbersome piece to this. And I think there was an email from one of the other counselors about some of the branding or marketing concerns.
I can address that as
Thank
well
you.
if you want. So yeah, there was concerns, a couple of them, that this would be used as some sort of billboard for advertisements. And that does not appear in what you guys are doing today. We have an interesting charter in that under our miscellaneous provisions, right, any expenditure over 50,000 has to be ordained, right, and you have to create a law for it. Well, most of the cities don't have that. And so this company, when it first came out, was saying, we'll make this quote of what this will cost, and then we'll offer, if you apply and are selected, a grant to kind of discount on that quote. But that you're going to have to promise with some sort of action from your city that you will do this and kind of lock in on that idea. So they were saying you should do it by a resolution. Well, that doesn't work for us. We're a little bit different. So what this ordinance does is it gives the authority to your interim city administrator to go out and contract, but this doesn't create the contract yet. Okay. And so the council's in an odd position. You're not seeing the contract, and I would suggest that you, when we come up with one with this company, put it in front of yourselves again.
Yes.
Just so you can see it.
No, that's good.
But I don't see any terms about advertising in this at all. The only terms I saw in it were if there's going to be certain designs and such, that the company asked that all of those designs and all the graphics get put on it before it's used. That was one of the terms that was put. But that isn't actually an action, it's not really a term we're agreeing to because it's just in a price quote.
Okay.
So the real meat and bones will be in a contract that comes forward. So this actually just allows Eileen Stein to go and contract with them, and then that contract can come back in front of you, and that will have terms.
Okay.
So hopefully that puts to bed this notion of advertising. The other question that came up was whether or not the maintenance fees would be covering this in perpetuity. And of course, we don't know. There's a 5-year sunset currently put on the park maintenance fee, but I'm not sure, and Jerry's in the audience, and he might have a better answer as to what maintenance on this would be. It's designed, I think, because it's steel and to be quite low maintenance. The other thing is it's going into Legacy Park, which itself has a maintenance schedule that we adhere to. So I think it's not that it's nominal, but it's not a huge exorbitant. So I think that can be safely stated as something that the city can stomach moving forward, whether or not this maintenance fee exists in the future, although the maintenance fee for the foreseeable future, it's here for another 4.5 years. So. I guess unless you change that, because you guys always have the power to just reduce it right now if you want.
So again, the interesting piece of our charter, so I get that this is the next step then to approve Eileen going and opening that conversation, which I suspect that we want to do, and I get the question. I mean, because when I saw that email come across, and I wasn't sure if the marketing piece is like they were going to brand the structure, if it was going to be their branding or if they were sell that space kind of a thing. I suspect that we'll probably see something regarding the app and perhaps marketing on the app, which I don't think we have much control over on that piece, but we do on the structure piece. And I suppose we could address the maintenance and I guess future replacement of elements to that if need be once the contract gets sent to us. Okay, perfect. Councilor Varwig.
Yeah, I was just going to add the conversation. I'm comfortable with us doing this now. I don't need to wait till the old business portion.
Okay.
But thank you for doing that, just for that comfortability.
Jim, question?
I support it. Are we ready for a motion?
I think so, unless there's any other questions. No, sir, go for it.
Okay, I move to approve ordinance 1605, signaling the city's commitment to fund the proposed outdoor fitness court at Legacy Park to a second reading on July 5th, 2023.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councilor Davis and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve ordinance number 1605, an ordinance authorizing the interim city administrator to enter into a contract with National Fitness Campaign, NFC, of San Francisco, California, to purchase a highly specialized outdoor fitness court infrastructure product with an integrated digital ecosystem and fitness court mobile app in the amount of $160,000. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just want to confirm 100% that it looks like it is written in the ordinance, but that it is coming out of, the full amount of this is coming out of SDCs, correct?
Jerry is shaking his head, yes.
Yes, okay.
That's what we budgeted this for, was to fund it out of SDCs, this portion of it. There is another portion of it is we will pour in the pad. You'll see the 65,000 in there. We added that to this so that you guys would be aware that that's part of the project. And we did that. It's going to be, we hope it's around 50,000 to pour it, but we put some contingency in case it had to come back to council. But yes, it's all, we're moving forward with funding this when it goes through, at this point, through SDCs.
Okay. Councilor Patton, you good?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
you bet. Okay, with that, all those in
Wait,
favor?
yeah, okay, perfect, yeah. We need to vote on.
You thought I was moving on, didn't you?
I did.
There you go, keep us on our toes, Joe. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that carries 4-0.
And Your Honor, I would just do a shout out to Ryan Potter, because I know he was working on this as well and was able to keep this grant alive in the time that it took for us to kind of go through this process. So,
Thank you, Joe. Yes, between the two of you, it was kind of, all right, what about this? Okay, what about that? And let's fix, so I appreciate it. And I know our Parks chair is here in the audience, and he's got a smile on his face, so we addressed one of the items that's on their list. Great. Next item is resolution number 1385, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, which we just had a public hearing on.
Mr. Mayor, I move to
Yeah.
accept Resolution 1385, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councillor Varwig and seconded by Councillor Hensley to approve Resolution 1385, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 22-23 fiscal year. Any discussion or comments? All right, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 4-0. Item E has been pulled from the agenda, so we'll move on to item F, which is the approval of resolution number 1387, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the 23-24 fiscal year, which was also our, no, it wasn't a public, yes, it was.
Yeah, it was.
That was our public hearing earlier as well. Comments, discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt Resolution 1387, a resolution of the City of Canby adopting the annual budget, making appropriations, and imposing and categorizing taxes for the fiscal year 2024.
Second.
Motion's been made by Councillor Varwig and seconded by Councillor Davis to approve Resolution 1388, a resolution authorizing an interfund, no, wrong one, sorry, 1387. Geez, a resolution adopting the budget, making appropriations and imposing and categorizing taxes for the 2023-2024 fiscal year. All those in favor?
Aye.
Well, actually, I had something to say, but I will say it in my counselor comments. Aye.
Okay. So are you a yay on the motion or a nay?
Yes, IADA.
All right. Any nays? All right. Item F passes 4-0. Next on the agenda is Resolution 1388, a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in fiscal year 23-24. And Eric is back again.
Welcome.
Hello.
Okay, summary, you just read it out, is the resolution to authorize the interfund loan. Background, ORS 2294.460 provides that one fund may loan funds to another fund for operational purposes, provided that the loan is approved by resolution of the governing body and that such a loan is scheduled to be repaid no later than the subsequent fiscal year. Discussion, the library fund has used the majority of their reserve balances and will not receive the bulk of their annual revenue until January of 2024. Oregon budget law does not allow a fund to run a deficit balance. Therefore, an interfund loan is needed to cover the operational costs until property tax revenue is received from Clackamas County in January of 2024. This interfund loan will be repaid in FY 2024 with interest at the rate earned by the Oregon State Local Investment Pool. Attachments are Resolution 1388. Fiscal impact, the library will be able to maintain operations until they receive their tax revenue. The Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund will be made whole with the repayment of the loan and interest. Options: 1, to approve the interfund loan and keep the library operations going. 2, do not approve the interfund loan and close the library. Recommendation: staff recommends that council adopt Resolution 1388.
Mr. Mayor, I believe this is the same thing we do every year, is it not?
Yes, this is, yeah, as
I
Counselor
moved to-
Patton asked earlier, that, yeah, this has been,
That seems very familiar. and
well, we
many
used to
years
do it
over.
from the general fund as a loan.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think a couple years ago, we made the change of doing it from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund.
Well, I move to adopt Resolution 1388, a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in FY 2024.
Second.
Motion has been made by Council President Hensley, second by Councilor Varwig, to approve resolution number 1388, a resolution authorizing an interfund loan from the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund to the Library Fund in the amount of $500,000 and authorizing repayment of the interfund loan in fiscal 23-24. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Patton, anything on your end?
Not this time.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 4-0. Thank you, Eric. Next item is H, which has been removed from the agenda for another time. And finally, resolution number 1390, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Canby and repealing resolution number 1371. Again, this is
part of, every time we have volunteers, our workers' comp insurance folks want to know kind of a ballpark, how many folks we have, what type of activities they are, because workers' comp works in a way that you pay a higher rate for certain types of volunteers. So if somebody was out volunteering and they were doing like kind of community policing type stuff and out, flagging traffic, it's going to be a higher rate than somebody who's just helping out with books in the library, that sort of thing. So what we do is we kind of not only get your guys' blessing on the type of folks that are going to be volunteering and be covered by this, but we also get the activities themselves. So 4th of July is a big one, and we use volunteers there. Or, sometimes there was one year where we were going to do an Earth Day cleanup, and I called the insurance folks and said, can we just add that to? So this is all just a way in which you guys can elect to make sure that your volunteers are covered, and it's highly suggestible. So please elect to cover our volunteers so they can continue to do the good work for Canby.
So, Joe, this is not, and we do this every year, and I get it. Is it because we have to report more updated volunteer numbers and hours versus like just something that just automatically renews?
It is not something that automatically renews because our workers' comp want you to make sure and elect to do it every year, so.
Seems appropriate. We don't do that for car insurance from Jerry's Trucks and Public Works.
Well, we do pay.
No, I know that we do, but we don't
Automatically
ever.
renews.
Yeah, we don't have to do that, and we don't know what Jerry and his team do to those trucks, so.
Oh, I see. Well, but you guys do, we did come and pass an ordinance for, it was like north of 400-some thousand.
Oh, yeah, we did do that, okay. Jerry, I really do appreciate you and your team.
Glad you've come to these meetings.
And I do want to make it worth your while when you come to the meetings.
I'm just about to insure.
What's that?
I'm just about to find out we're insured.
There you go, you are insured, okay. Yeah, we don't flip Don this kind of garbage, I mean, I can start,
It's okay. No, we're good.
Without getting called up.
Well, tonight, I know he made it, so far he has not been called up. So, okay, So any questions or comments for extending the worker comp coverage to our volunteers? No. Jason, anything on your end?
No.
Okay, I will take a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve Resolution 1390, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to the volunteers of the City of Canby and repealing Resolution 1371.
Thank you.
Second.
Also, thank you. So motion's been made by Councilor Varwig and second by Councilor Davis to approve Resolution 1390, a resolution extending workers' compensation coverage to volunteers of the City of Canby and repealing Resolution number 1371. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passes 4-0. Okay, moving into old business, we kind of took care of item A, which is the sole source outdoor fitness court, so we've taken care of that item. The next piece is the city administrator recruitment matrix and conversation. I know I dropped the ball on getting out the matrix that Councilor Patton put together, so hopefully everyone maybe had a chance to look at it, but at least reviewed all of the contents of the different proposals that we got. So I think we're looking to try to make a decision tonight to go into, or at least pick one of the firms this evening so that we can start that process. Yes, Councilor Farley.
Well, so I was thinking about this week as I was looking through and kind of reviewing that last night, and I just, kind of the thought occurred to me that I'd bring up to the rest of the council is, obviously with some additional recruitments that we're going to be having to do, does it make more sense for us to kind of hold off on the city administrative recruitment? We have a capable interim in the position, and maybe push this out a little bit while we recruit another position.
Posing that question to you all, so I'll let you guys kick that around.
As we looked in, I looked at the contract that we have with Ms. Stein, and it goes through October or until somebody is hired. So I believe that we could adjust that if we needed to. But I just think that we have a lot coming up, and so maybe if we just put kind of the city administrator search on hold while Ms. Stein continues to fill in. I don't know if that's something she'd even be willing to do if we wanted that, but. It was just a thought that I had of, instead of trying to do two recruitments together.
Can I offer up additional information, perhaps it'll help in your conversation, is one of the first things a firm will do is kind of put together the prospectus that you want for selling the city. And we've done this before, and so you put together kind of a nice brochure of this is your city, and this is kind of what we're about, and then what the scope of whatever services you're looking for too, but and some of the standards with which you'll apply. Any one of these folks, then that if you do one, of them or the other first, you're still going to put together those sorts of things too, right? So it wouldn't be a bad idea to at least start picking a firm that can help you start to sell your city to outsiders, if that aids in your conversation.
It does, and I thank you for that insight, and that kind of brings up another question of if we're doing that, do we want to consider having the same firm do both? And as long as they're putting together a pamphlet about the city and how great we are,
if you're going to do that, then you would, and I could easily do this for you, is I could reach out and say, change of plan, how much would it be if we did both? And they would put together, maybe a quick, slightly amended version, which might come up with different pricing.
Yeah, I think my thought was that we've had some transition over the last several years, and obviously some more coming, and so maybe just kind of slowing this down and taking our time to do it right. So just my thoughts on that.
Posed question, Any thoughts on that question, or Councilor Patton?
Mr.
anything?
Mayor, when you have, I have something when you're ready.
I'm ready for you, sir.
So if we can group the two positions together and get like a better price because we are contracting for two rather than one, I am for that, but I am not for delaying this process. I think we need to move things forward to get things back on track. And to do that, we need to have a permanent person in these positions. So I am for grouping the positions together if these different firms are able to recruit for both. But as far as holding off on things, I am not for that.
Okay, thank you for that, sir. Councilor Davis or Councilor Hensley, thoughts?
I think we should go ahead with finding a firm to recruit for the city administrator position. The other position might need more conversation. And I don't feel the urgency since we are contracted with someone right now, so. I do think we should choose a firm soon. I'm with Councilor Patton. I don't want to hold up the process on the city administrator search.
Okay. Councilor Davis, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, first of all, I really appreciate the job that Eileen's doing right now for us. And so, but also with that luxury, we can also take our time in regards to, let's identify the firm, and we can set the timeframes when we meet with the firm. But I think we should start, as Joe was talking about, start the description for the position and work out the timelines with the consulting firm to at least get the process started.
Okay.
And hopefully our next conversation, we'll have a full vote to talk about it.
Yeah, I thank you all for that, and I appreciate the question, Councilor Varg. I did as well think about, and in fact, I think I had conversation with Eileen about, do we run a parallel search and what's that look like? And do we have the same company do it? Do we go out again and for, us and have a separate firm do the attorney, and it sounds like all of these companies can do both. And so I think I would go, as we're kind of talking here, I think we do need to get that process going for the city administrator position. So I think we do need to pick one tonight and get that process going. And then I think if we can go back to at least whatever one we decide tonight and ask them, we now have this secondary piece to this, what would that look like? Either running simultaneously or just offset or whatever. I think that would be prudent on our part to do that. And, I think if the company we decide on is good enough to select our city administrator or help us with that process, I think that they're very capable enough to help us pick the city attorney piece. So does that seem a collective way to go?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Patton?
I would like to propose a middle ground on this. I think you had said that we have to have a special meeting next week to cover the items E and H from tonight's agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Would it make sense? To me, it would make sense to hold off on a decision of the firm tonight. Have Joe contact these firms, see if there's enough time for Joe to contact these firms and give an affirmative that they also would be able to move, if they would be able to put the two together and get that back to us, and then maybe make a decision on a firm next week.
I'm good with that.
Fine with that.
Yeah, I'm good with that too, and it gives us a little more time since the rubric.
Wanted to check if there's any cost savings too.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine there's a bit of it with coming up with basically the, how you demonstrate your city. And then there might be some on,
Yeah.
you know, when you advertise.
Yeah.
So that would be my guess.
Okay. So with next week's meeting, whenever we do, that'll be a third item then, is to find out what we're doing parallel to each other to get that going. Okay. All right. Works for me. Any other old business? Just those two items tonight? Okay. Mayor's business, I'll be brief. Hey, the Canby Independence Day celebration is coming up. Pancake breakfast, parade, ton of music, food booths, vendors, a whole lot of activities, and then fireworks that evening by the Canby Fire District volunteers. So mark your calendar. 4th of July falls on a Tuesday, so you have no reason to be out of town because you have to work on Monday. So you might as well come downtown and hang out. No reason. There is a groundbreaking for the Canby Center on June 28th at 4 p.m. For those of you that don't know, they've been on a fundraising campaign because they're going to add on to their building and create some more space for the things that they do. And it's an exciting time for them and for the city of Canby with this expansion. So I do want to put a bug in this council's ear that we may want to consider or figure out if there's a way we can, or if we want to, since they are a not-for-profit organization, if there's a way that we can help them in lowering some of the building costs on our end. That might be worth a conversation. I know that may be something that they may be coming to ask for, so I just want to put that in your think tank for a little bit.
I was going to mention on that, they did announce today they have reached their goal.
Excellent.
So that's
great.
exciting news, and I don't know if that takes into consideration them asking for any funding, but.
I'm not sure, but.
But that was exciting to see this community support them in that way, and that's a huge fundraising goal.
That's great. Yeah, it was a lot of money to fundraise, so that's.
$8 million, yeah.
How much?
$8 million.
$8 million. Let's see. Last meeting, I asked council to consider directing staff to reach out and start working with a realtor about potentially getting into someone at least partnered with to start looking at some property and land purchases for future development in the city of Canby. So I'm back to say, if you guys have had a chance to think about that, do you have thoughts on that? Can we direct staff to do that? I don't have any pieces in mind. I've just.
Yeah, we're not committing to purchase anything.
No,
I don't
but I
have
want to
anything
start
against
working on it.
scouting.
I don't think it hurts to look.
Scouting is good.
Okay. So we will, in all your all's free time,
Yeah.
I'm so glad you did that with a smile, Eileen. That really, I ask her every time we talk, I'm like, are you having fun? And she goes, yes. And I'm like, can't ask for much more than that. And my final piece, I know as we were talking earlier here just about 10 minutes ago about this mutual search piece, because many of you know that we are going to be opening up for the city administrator role, but that our city attorney will be leaving us as well here in July. And Joe, I don't know if I can accept it. I know we've not been able to connect since then, but I did want you to know that I have really enjoyed working with you these past 11 years. And I know you live in town, and I'm sure I'll see you. I know we got a couple more weeks together, but I do appreciate everything that you have done for the city and for us on a number of occasions. I will miss working with you. Joe, that's all I'll say for now, but do appreciate all that you've done. That concludes my comments for this evening. I'll start with Councillor Patton. Any liaison reports this evening or comments?
Yes, just a second. So I will keep, let me turn the phone up here because I got to do like 6 things before I do this. So I'm going to reserve a majority of my comments while I'm there in person and with what's going on with the whole audio thing. But what I will say is this, some of the things that I was going to mention during the budget motion was, and these are things that I'm bringing up as, bringing up to the council level from when I was down at the budget committee level. For next year, setting up a class for members, especially citizen members, to get them up to speed on the projects that will be in the budget, as well as maybe covering some budget law and getting them up to speed on what being a budget committee member is all about. I think at times those folks come into the meeting, and I say this from experience, and not really have a firm grasp on some of the stuff that we are talking about at the budget. And I think it's important that they have confidence in what we're doing and don't feel stifled to be able to weigh in on those things. One of the other big ones is I will continue to push for January 18th, 2024, with info to members, yes. January 18th, 2024, to be a full service mid-year budget review, like held in the same format as the budget committee meetings with everybody involved. Look at bringing on a grant writer for next year, because I think the city of Canby, we have some very talented people who know how to do grant writing within the city, but they are doing 1,002 other things. And I think it's important. I think the city has gotten to a point where we need to review having a grant writer on staff to be able to capture some of these funds. And then also moving the budget formation process up by a couple of weeks. So, but keeping the budget committee meetings the same in order to provide the budget committee a little bit more of a buffer for receiving the budget and being able to review it before the meeting comes up. In the past, we were able to submit some questions in advance and have those shared in preparation for the budget committee meetings, and I think that was very helpful, and I would like to see us get back to that. As far as the school board, I have a bunch of stuff there, but I'm going to hold off to the next meeting. There are a couple things that I want to mention regarding the Canby Utility Board. At their last meeting, they had a very lengthy discussion about the water master plan. The water master plan is within eyesight of being done. And as I have said before, and I will continue to say, in it is a new water treatment plant. And it is going to be a big lift. So they will most likely be coming to the city council to request a work session with us so that they can get us up to speed on what they're saying or what they are seeing. The other thing I will just cover is folks may remember during the, I believe it was during Memorial Day weekend, there was a power outage, there was equipment failure. It turns out that there was an underground power line that malfunctioned and caused a cascading effect, which caused some equipment to blow up. There were people that posted themselves holding pieces of the blown up electric equipment, as well as some electric wires on Facebook.
Oh, geez.
That is ridiculous. It is imperative that whenever something like this happens, that no community member take pictures with themselves holding broken pieces of our power grid. It is extremely dangerous. You do not know if there has been some sort of chemical reaction with the explosion or anything like that. Apparently there were people that had their lawn chairs out by the site watching things unfold. There were people walking through the zone, the work zone, as Canby Utility was trying to fix the problem. This is not kindergarten, people. Do not do these sort of things. So they're going to put some stuff in the next billing newsletter to emphasize this. Don't touch the electrical stuff. Stay away. And to close, I just want to say that I am very disheartened that Joe has decided to tender his resignation with the city. I've only been on council for a very short period of time, but I had a chance to interact with Joe as an active citizen of this community for many years, and I appreciate everything that he has done for the city. And I do hope that in his next endeavor, he finds those folks that can really truly appreciate everything he offers and brings to the table. So I do plan on reaching out to him in the next, when I get back into town, to set up a meeting to say goodbye in person. So yes, and so for that is all I have for my report this time. Again, don't touch electrical stuff. Leave it alone.
Thank you, Councilor Patton. I did not see those pictures online. I'm guessing it was our community's favorite Facebook page.
Probably can't be.
It was, okay.
I think it was Canby now.
I was trying to not say names, but Canby now it is. Yeah, that's kind of like,
Reminds me of that
Let's see.
commercial when we were kids.
Yeah,
What is
like-
the parlor? Wines,
Yeah.
the kite, called the Kite Man.
yeah,
Remember those
the,
commercials?
many of us, I think, have children and have had that, when you're baby proofing your house, one of those things that you do are those plastic covers on the electrical outlets. So if it's dangerous then, it's dangerous all the time. So I think there's those commercials of don't play with down power lines, walk away. Councilor Patton, thank you for the public service announcement.
We need it.
We joke about common sense sometimes being in short supply. Councilor Davis.
Thank you. I got to be the incident commander for that fun event. And I do appreciate, we did have some citizens that were doing some good work for us out there in closing the roads. Mr. Crow from the fairgrounds lives close by, and he had the road closed down, yelling at people to please stay back. So thank you to some of the citizens that did help us out. We were overwhelmed to begin with because we had a neutral line that went down at 10th and Oak. And then we had reports of smoke coming out of outlets all the way up past Maple Street Park. And when we got there, the cable boxes were on fire outside the apartment complex. And we couldn't figure out why we had a water line burst in one of the apartments. Well, apparently, when it was looking for ground, it decided to use that apartment complex. And it actually blew where they used to ground. It actually blew the water pipe in one of the apartments. So, we had to call a few engine companies out there just to deal with the smoke complaints that we were getting inside buildings and things like that. And Canby PD was wonderful. Canby PD helped out quite a bit in regards to traffic. But Jason's absolutely right. There were some areas where we had to get people back because when you have a negative ground on the ground, it's still at least 20 feet away. You can still be electrocuted. So it is very dangerous. So let's see, a few things. I had a question, if anybody knows. Do we have signs for City Hall anywhere out on the main roads? Are there signs indicating where City Hall is located? And a few citizens have asked me that, just stopped me and said, hey, where's City Hall? There's no signs. I was just wondering.
Didn't we used to have one on Ivy? I don't know if it's still there or not, but that's the only one I'm aware of.
Yeah, and the
Probably
police.
not a bad idea.
Yeah, and the police department is what they both ask about is, I mean, we got some really nice signs indicating the downtown district and things like that, but possibly if you can think about putting up signs for City Hall and for the police department, it came from citizens, just talked to me about it. Let's see, on 7, in regards to Park and Rec Advisory Committee, reminder the mayor is scheduling a presentation that we encourage people to show up for in regards to athletic fields. Cogeo should be here, and that'll be the main presentation that night to talk about what they've got going. I can tell you that they're a sought-after operation. There's other communities that are trying to fight to try to get them, but they've identified Canby as their #1 priority. And I just hope that we can figure out how to make that work, because that can help our community out very much. In regards to a few follow-up items that I've worked with Eileen on is the Maple Street Park and the work contracts, just making sure that we can get those out. Because we're reaching that crunch time to reach that August deadline to be able to get that work started at Maple Street Park for the turf as well as the lights. And I understand those contracts have been sitting somewhere in City Hall for quite some time. So if we could get those out, that would very much be appreciated. Auburn Farms is well on its way. And I think that we're going to have some designs soon, and we should be able to hold a public meeting and call people in from those communities and get input to those designs for Auburn Farm. Jerry already reported on Community Park. It's going along real well down at Community Park. Thank you on the outdoor fitness court for Legacy Park. That project is moving forward as well. And also for passing the park naming process. The committee very much appreciated that. We had some really good ideas that were discussed with the Park and Rec Committee. Kara Hawkins talked about some ideas. We also, tonight, we all received envelopes from Don Perman, again, in regards to the cul-de-sac issue. Maybe somebody can draft a response back to him. We have letters here that were left by the council. I know that the council deals with this on a regular basis, but I think we should put that one to bed if we can in regards to giving him a final resolve on that intersection or on that cul-de-sac, because he has approached the Park and Rec Committee as well as now the City Council, and I feel we owe him a response, an official response from the city. And I know you guys that have been here for a while so I get that. So on the adult center, great group of people. They had their golden anniversary, a 50-year plus anniversary luncheon. It was packed. So congratulations to those people for celebrating over 50 years of marriage. Father's Day lunch on June 16th with root beer floats. That was a big hit. It was full. And they continue to offer different events to the citizens. And that morning, actually, the fire department was invited up to Hope Village and to their general membership meeting in the quilting group. Through their quilting, donated $670 to Canby Fire Emergency Management Fund. We work very closely with Rotary Ready projects and stuff in regards to funding for that as well. And for the council, on Independence Day, we have a group of antique fire trucks that are going to be in the parade. They're going to park down where we normally run the Kiddies Day physical fitness activities, but they're going to park there so you can see a whole bunch of antique fire trucks. And You're more than welcome to come by the start. I'm going to be at the start to help start the parade again this year. But if the antique people have invited counselors, if they want to ride on the fire trucks in the parade. So feel free, you're invited to come up there, and they'll be parked right out in front at the start of the parade. That's what I have. Thank you.
Thanks. Counselor Varwig.
It's a really cool offer. I've been thinking about what am I going to do, so maybe now I know. A couple of things, no liaison reports, but I wanted to say once again to all of the graduates of Canby High School that graduated last week, congratulations, wishing you a bright future ahead, and then to all of the students who finished school last week, have a really good summer. That said, it's recital season at Allegro. The mayor knows it all too well.
I'll be there this year.
Yes, I will as well, many, many times. There's a lot of kids that have put in a lot of work to put on the recital for our community. And so if you haven't bought tickets yet, I don't know if there's any left, but go check out their website. And if there are any left, buy them and go see the work that they do. Because these kids have worked really hard all the way down to, I think, 3-year-olds or 4-year-olds. So it's going to be really, really cool. And then I'll just echo some of the same sentiments and wish Mr. Lindsay well and hope bright things for your future as well. And thank you for the work that you've put in for our city. So thank you.
So I'll backtrack for a second. Yes, Counselor.
Sorry for the go back. I was remiss in recognizing Joe as well and thanking Joe for his time at the city. I've known Joe for quite a while and sat in the audience many times and had many occasions from the fireside to work with Joe, and I wish you well in your next endeavors, but thank you.
Council President Hensley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a little update from the traffic safety liaison. DUIs are normally 7 to 8 per month, we found out. We have our officer who comes to our meeting every month and he gives us a report. So 7 to 8 monthly normally. We had 18 in May. So with the uptick in May and then, beautiful weather, of course, everybody's out celebrating, I suppose, at the river and whatnot, but we're going into the summer season, 4th of July, the fair. So just want to remind everybody, get an Uber, get a DD, walk home, something. Just let's get home safely and let's not make those numbers go up anymore. Also, I wanted to give kudos to Canby Police Department and Officer Miller. They got a $200,000 grant from ODOT to help with enforcement during the construction zone stuff. So if you think you're going to get away with something out there during the construction time, you might want to rethink that because we have some extra resources. So kudos to them for being able to procure that, and hopefully we can keep everybody safe out there while ODOT's making a mess of our town for a temporary time. That's all I have. And Joe, I'll wait because you don't always get verklempt when these goodbye things happen. So since you're still here for another meeting, I'm going to save it. That way I only have to get upset once. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, thank you all. Appreciate that. City Administrator Business and Staff Reports. Ms. Eileen, anything for us this evening?
I have a couple of items. First of all, tomorrow night is the Clackamas City's dinner at Wilsonville's McMenamin's Old Church. I don't know if any of you are going. You're going? Great. I will be there as well. So great. See you there. The second item is we did advertise for the Human Resources Director already and received 6 proposals for that. We've narrowed that down and we will be doing interviews next week for that position. So we're jumping on that. So
great.
Just wanted to let you know. Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, great. Next opportunity on the agenda for citizen input. Barry, anything? No, okay.
He's just watching.
Maya, action review.
You've approved the consent agenda, adopted ordinance numbers 1603, and 1604, approved ordinance 1605 to second reading on July 5th, 2023, approved resolution numbers 1385, 1387, 1388, and 1390, and also approved staff to reach out to the recruitment firms about doing both recruitments.
Okay, thank you. I think that's it for this evening. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Davis to adjourn our meeting.
Wait,
All those in
before, make sure that you get your times in as soon as possible to Maya on your availability for Thursday,
Okay.
because she needs to go to the papers by really late tomorrow or Friday
Okay,
with that date.
perfect.
Session's over by then, so I'm good.
Yeah.
Tomorrow you got it. Thursday I'm good.
All right, councilors, get your dates and times in for that if you can make it. With that being said, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
I. No, I'm not eyeing no, I'm eyeing to adjourn. I'm with the majority of it.
I thought he was doing his.
Canby, we are adjourned. Good night. Thank you. See you in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.